Hi, I'm John from Bike Social. Now, over the years, I've chosen a lot of tyres for a lot of different bikes, and it can get confusing. Thing is, it is one of the most important purchases you'll make because the tyres are what join your bike to the ground. If they're not right, you're not going to stay upright. But if you understand how tyres are made and the technology that goes into them, you'll be able to choose the right ones for yourself. So I'm here with Gary Hartshorn. He's the Senior Product Manager for North Europe of Bridgestone. He's not only working for Bridgestone, this guy rides 25,000 miles a year.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've got a trials bike,
Trials bike, race bike, adventure bike.
Do you know tyres?
Yeah, everything, yeah. I'm always on a bike. I spend a lot of time on bikes.
So probably somebody new to biking, or maybe somebody that commute. Let's say somebody with a 125 or a 250cc bike. How do they know what tyres to buy? Do they need to get the stickiest, raciest tyres to be as safe as they can?
No, they don't. You know, when you buy the motorcycle and it's got, let's say you buy a new one, for example, the tyres that are on it have been designed for it. Yeah. So you know, it's only if you want to go on track or something that you probably need to upgrade. Yeah. But the tyres that are on there, they're the right speed rating, they're the right load rating. Yeah. They're designed for the job that the bike's been designed to do. So you know, they're designed from the ground up. Yeah. As the bike's designed from the ground up, the tyres go with it.
So the speed rating, you're saying that's the letter you have after the tyre. So
that's the OE spec. The speed rating, like on this BT45, for example, is an H rated there, as you can see it there. So it will be, so 67 H. So 67 is your load. Yep. H is your speed rating.
So what does H mean? What's your top speed that you could run this to?
130 miles an hour.
So I know that you can get higher letters.
You can. Why
would I not just put one on that's a higher letter? Surely that's going to mean I'm safer.
Well, that's the myth. Okay. But you remember that the higher the load and the higher the speed, the stiffer the tyre will be, because it's got to then take the extra speed, it's got to take the extra load from the bike and the pillion, etc. Because the tyre will then be a lot stiffer, it will be too stiff for the bike that it's been fitted to. So you could actually go backwards in terms of the amount of grip and performance that you've got. So you can totally over tyre. Yeah. There's a lot of talk out there on the street that, oh, I'll need this, I'll need to have that. Well, no, you don't. You need to have the right tyre for your bike. Okay. Don't over spec. Yeah. If you're talking about racing and things like that and you want more grip and stuff, that's a different ball game. Yeah. But what you're just talking about road here, then if your bike is homologated with an H-rated tyre, you have to use an H-rated tyre. Don't go above. You can legally go above, but it's illegal to go back down. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you can't downgrade. Yeah. You can upgrade, but don't. There's no point, because that's the tyre that's been designed with.
Not only is there no point, you could be wasting money. You're actually potentially putting a tyre on that's going to be detrimental to the handling and safety.
Could be. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Highly likely.
Yeah. So on a typical 125 or 250, you're probably going to look at something like this BT45.
Correct.
What about on a scooter?
For a scooter, in our range, you've got what we call the SC scooter tyres. Okay. SC scooter, so it simplifies things. These are latest in the range, mainly designed. This one here is sort of an everyday sort of summer tyre, whereas this one here is the ST2 range. So this is the one that if you're commuting 12 months of the year, in and out of London, Birmingham, Leeds, wherever, then that's the tyre that you would use. Okay. But it doesn't mean that it has any less performance in the dry than this. Yeah. It will be slightly less, but as an overall product, that will be the one that you use, that one there.
But why? So what makes, in general with tyres, what makes this a good rain tyre?
Well, firstly, it's got more grooves. If you compare the grooves, it's got extra grooves on the sidewall. Yeah. But this compound will also be different. It will be designed to work in lower temperatures. Okay. Whereas you look at race tyres are designed to work in higher temperatures. Yeah. Other than wets, of course. But for road tyres, this will be designed to work in lower temperatures. So the compound will, let's say, start working at sort of 5-10 degrees, but it won't stop working when it gets colder, whereas that one will. Yeah. So when it's like 0 degrees, 1 degree, and you get your scooter out of the garage and you're off to the office in the morning, this one will give you more grip.
The rain will give you more grip.
The rain will give you more grip, even when it's dry, because the compound is designed to work at much lower temperatures than that one.
Okay, well, that's cool. And you see lots of different tread patterns on tyres. As a customer, how do I know what I'm getting? Why do tread patterns look like they do? Is it just because they look cool?
Well, aesthetically, it has to be pleasing on the eye to someone, because some people do buy on the way that a tyre looks, bizarrely, but they do. So, but also the tread pattern has to be there, because in certain angles and in certain shapes, because when you bank into a corner, the tyre deforms. It flattens out onto the, to the surface, the tarmac.
Yeah.
So as that tyre flattens out, the shape of the groove changes.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that that groove changes in the right way and forms the right way so that it doesn't squeeze together, because if it squeezes together, it then won't disperse the water.
Right.
So we need to make sure that when you bank into corners or you're braking into corners, on the front tyre, that the groove goes to the shape that we want it to be at to disperse the water.
Okay. So you said about how they change shape. Am I right in thinking then that you read a lot of stuff about people saying, "Oh, I'll drop the tyre pressures when it's wet because I get better grip"? Is that rubbish?
I wouldn't, no. I mean, again, we spend hours, weeks, months, years, lots of money developing tyres over the years since Bridgestone was founded. So, when we test a tyre and we recommend the pressures, that's because that's the best pressure for that tyre.
So those pressures, that are recommended for this, you set those as Bridgestone?
No, we don't. There are governing bodies around the world, like the European one is the ETRTO, so the European Tyre and Rim Technical Organisation. That governing body sets out the rules, the regs. So we have to have a certain pressure for a certain speed that the tyre's rated at and the load that the tyre's rated at. And of course, that is then related to the size of the tyre. There's then a table in the ETRTO, but this applies to everybody. Okay. It's not just Bridgestone, it applies to all tyre manufacturers. It also applies to motorcycle manufacturers because they will be making a motorcycle. So they cannot make a motorcycle with a load on the rear axle, for example, that exceeds the tyre load. Right. So they will have to also adhere to this ETRTO or JATMA or whichever governing body it is, but they're all very similar to each other. There's not a lot of differences. So no, we don't set the pressures. We design the tyre to meet these guidelines.
And that pressure, obviously, that's what's holding your bike up.
Yeah, again, it's not the tyre that supports the bike. You're absolutely right. It's the pressure or the air within the tyre that supports the bike, which is why when we recommend pressures, stick to them, because that's what we've done. We've tested it on bikes, on the road, on the track, drum testing. We test on it. We've got like a drum that we test on. That it spins round, and then it's got like a wheel on the top, and then it pushes down and it replicates like road and weight. So we can put different weights without actually leaving the factory type thing. We put different weights on it. Oh, cool. Basically the force of the top roller or whichever way it's pushing at. So we can then replicate different pressures. So we can drop the pressure, and then we can see how long that tyre is going to last before it sort of disintegrates or whatever, with different pressures and different weights on it, without actually putting a rider on it and putting somebody at risk as such.
But that's how you certify that tyre is made for that load, and that load is determined by the weight of the bike,
speed of the bike,
rider, the speed of the bike,
and the size of the tyre.
And hence, if you've got a 125 weighing 2/3 the weight of a 600 sports bike, you don't want to be putting 600 sports bike tyres on it.
Correct.
So I've got my new tyres. Do I need to scrub them in?
You do. The industry standard is 200 miles or 200 kilometres, depending on which manufacturer. But you will notice that if you went on racetrack, for example, when I race, I scrub a set in a lap. Which leads me to the next thing, because it's not just about scuffing the surface of the tyre. It's about letting the tyre settle onto the rim properly. And it's also about the components within the carcass of the tyre. So what we need to do, we need to make sure that they all settle together. And the example that we'll use is if you load a van full of boxes and then you shove the last box in like that, and then you go and drive it for an hour to your destination, and then you'll open the back doors and that box will just pull out because everything's settled down and within each other, and that's what you've got to do with the tyre as well. So it's not just scrubbing the surface in.
Because people always say, oh, they're covered in release agent. Well, these don't seem slimy. These don't feel like there's...
No, we don't use release agents. Release agents is used on the quality of the mould. It's like taking the cake out of the tin when it's when you've baked a cake. Some you scrape out and some just fall out. So it depends on the quality of the mould. For us, the quality of the mould is extremely high, so we don't need to use release agents. We also got to remember as well is that when the tyre's been fitted, they've used some paste
Yeah, yeah.
So if you then, even when it's scrubbed in, but under hard acceleration, if that paste is still quite slimy, the tyre could spin on the rim.
Oh, right, I actually spin on the rim.
Yeah, so it could spin on the rim. So when they've balanced it and they've put the dots next to the valve, etc., and they've balanced it, if it span round the wheel and off where you fitted it, then it could be out of balance as well. Right. So there's a number of things. So I think, again, there's a myth that it's just scrubbing the tyre in. It isn't. There's many more factors within that you need to take into consideration.
So we've scrubbed it in. How long's it going to last?
That's the million-dollar question, that, John, and that's something that we get asked, I don't know, God knows how many times a year.
It's not as simple, is it? I know we've talked about this. It's not as simple as you will get this many miles. It's how you ride, isn't it?
There's an average. Of course, there's an average. Some people, we always advise, ideally, check the tyre pressures every time you go out on your bike. But of course, if you're commuting and you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, the last thing you're going to want to be doing, especially in the winter, it's cold, is getting your pressure gauge out and checking it. But at least do it once a week. Because if they're underinflated, they will wear more quickly. If they're overinflated, they will wear more quickly. Right. Again, we've done all the tests. We've, going back to the ETRTO, the tyres are designed to work at a certain pressure. If you keep them at that pressure, you will get maximum amount of life out of them. But it also depends on how you ride. We've all seen people doing the traffic light Grand Prix. Where they get to the lights and off they go, and then they get to the next set, they slow down, and that sort of thing. Heavy acceleration wears tyres.
So because constant change in acceleration.
Constant change in acceleration. So the smoother you are on the throttle, it's not about how fast you ride, it's how smooth you ride. So the smoother you ride, the longer and the more accurate the pressures are, the longer the tyres will last. And you'll probably get above average at that point. But if you ride on and off the throttle a lot and you run lower pressures because your mates told you to, then your mileage is going to reduce.
And finally then, if something happens, if we get puncture, can we repair them?
You can repair anything up to and including a V-rated.
Okay, so these at an H would be...
Yeah, they'll be fine, but there's certain rules which you've got to stick to. The British guideline to BSAU 159. I think there's an F on the end, it's 59F. But what it says basically is anything up to and including a V you can repair, providing the hole is 3 millimetres in diameter or less. It's within 75% of the centre line, so sort of there to the quarter beads, and not outside of that, and not in the groove or in a sidewall. So providing it's within there, you can have it repaired with a mushroom type from the inside, pulling it through, proper repair.
Yeah, so a roadside repair has got to be treated as a temporary, get you to
the garage, get it repaired properly.
Because then that mushroom is getting the pressure from the inside, it's going to get pushed against it.
Yeah, and being pushed against it,
If you know how they're made, you can make the right choices.
I think so, and I think it's critical as well on a motorcycle. As you started off the conversation with, they are the only things that's touching the ground. And if they're not right, you're putting yourself at risk. It's as simple as that. So, stick to what the manufacturers tell you. They're the ones that know.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Gary.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.